Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at securing the VTY ports with standard IPv4 access control list. We'll be discussing the access class command, securing VTY access, and then finally verifying that the VTY port is secure. This episode is part of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. We can secure those ports where we either use Telnet or SSH. Please don't use Telnet, unsecure. But those ports where we can connect in virtually through a terminal, we can secure those. We can secure them using an access control list, limiting who has access to those. In order to do that, the command we use here is access class list. Access class list, notice what mode we are in. We are in the configuration of our line. So we typed in here from our prompt here in global configuration mode. We typed in interface line VTY0 4, or you could do 15 here. You could do either one. And then it brought us into our line configuration mode. What we do here is we created that access control list first. So we went through and we created an access control list to identify what host we will allow in there. Then we go into the actual VTY interface here, and we start off with access class. From there, you either choose, and once again, we have the squiggly line, meaning you need to choose one or the other in here. So we can either choose an access list number if you did a numbered access control list, or you can choose the name if you did a named access control list. And then are we applying it to the in or the out? That's the other choice you have to make. This is just like applying it to an interface, but now we're using access class to apply it to our VTY terminals. Let's work through an example here to secure your VTY access using an access control list. One of the first things you need to do is create a username and password so we can log into that VTY port. Now, it could be a local name that you define. It could be using an external server like a Radius server. Here, we're going to go ahead and create a username called admin with a password of class. We go ahead and create that user. Now, let's go ahead and create the access control list we're going to use to identify traffic to allow to connect in. And so we start off here, IP access list. We're going to create a standard one, and then we're going to make sure it's a named one. We're going to call it admin host. Once again, we capitalized it so we could quickly identify it as we scroll through our statistics and listing. Once we say we're going to do a name standard list, our prompt has changed. We are now into a standard named access control list. Add in your remark, add in your permit. And so this 192.168.10.10 address, that should be your admin host, or that should be the IP address of the PC you use to configure your networking devices. Then we do a deny any at the end of it. So it's going to look here and say, okay, we're going to permit this host. If you don't match this host, then we go down to the next one and we're going to deny any. Now, yes, this is redundant because there's that implicit deny, but sometimes you just want to make sure that we're going to deny anything besides what we allowed before this line. And so sometimes people do put in a deny any at this point, even though we do have that implicit deny. So we go ahead and we allow that one in, that one IP address. We're going to deny everything else, type in exit. And now, once we've created that ACL, we're done creating it, we go into where we're going to apply it. So from global configuration mode, we do a line VTY 0 to 4. We're going to say login local. That's going to use the username and password you created up here earlier. We're going to say we're going to change our transport to Telnet. Now, once again, you should never use Telnet. It should be SSH, but we didn't go ahead and generate the crypto keys and all that right now. You should go ahead and do that and make sure you use SSH because Telnet's insecure. But here for this example, we're going to use the transport input of Telnet. And then once we have that configured, we can go ahead and say, okay, now let's go ahead and access class, the name of our named access control list. We get that from right here. That goes in here. And then we're going to say what direction it's going. So any traffic coming in to use the VTY terminals, we're going to filter based upon this named access control list of admin-host. That's how we go ahead and set up the access control list to secure our VTY. To verify that we have the port is secured, well, when you're connected into the device, you'll get a system update message. That's what this is right here, a system update message that tells us we had a successful login, where they came from into this device. So that's showing us. We can also do a show access list here. It gives us our standard IP access list with an admin host. Here for our first sequence, we had the permit of the admin host trying to connect in, so that's probably your IP address, and you've matched it twice, so you tried to connect in twice. Now if that says 1,000 and you know you didn't do 1,000, you have something to be concerned with. But if 2 sounds like the correct number, then you're doing pretty good. Then we can see how many times that we denied getting into that, and we only had 2 matches. That seems like a pretty low number to me, but once again, your scenario varies however you're using it. And so we can get some information there based off of our matches. It lists out our access control list, lists out our matches. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on securing VTY ports with a standard IPv4 access control list. If you liked this episode and you got value out of it, and depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. You can get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I have just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.